guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Someone Thinks They've Bought Our Garage. In England about 10 years ago my family, bought a garage with a little garden to keep an extra car in a couple miles away from our home. We visit occasionally, once every couple of years, to cut the hedges etc. The car has no battery, but is in good condition and been kept dry. We have now decided to sell the garage, and when going over there to see it and to take photos we see that the garden has been concreted. There is building debris stacked up against the wall and that there is a new lock on the door. We later found out that the lady we originally bought it from has sadly passed away and her niece inherited the property. The niece has either sold or is renting out the house. The family now living in the house has locked the garage and refuses to let us even see if the car is still there. I'm growing to suspect that it is not. We have looked on the land registry and they do not appear on it. It also clearly states that the garage is no longer part of that house's title deed and has a new title deed number. The land being made a separate title deed happened about 9 years after we bought it. We thought it had been done already and didn't check the paperwork, lesson learned, and a couple months before they moved into the property. How should we handle this? Should we report the car stolen? Is there anything stopping us cutting their lock off and towing the car, if it's still there? We've already contacted our solicitor and are waiting for a reply. This is my first time posting here. If I've missed any details or broken any sub-rules, I'll try my best to fix it in the comments. Thanks for all the advice and feedback. I'll update when possible. Edit. As lots of people have asked, the car is a mint condition classic with less than 8k miles on it. It's worth £20,000 and the garage itself is worth about another £20,000. It does run but has been drained for storage. Edit 2. The car is present and safe, only a couple small dents on the bonnet. We are waiting to get it moved to our new house. Update. To keep things easy to understand, I'm going to do a timeline of events. Saturday night. We discover that the hedge and garden at our garage has been removed and concreted over. Sunday afternoon. My parents and myself go to the garage to see what's up. When I arrive there is a group of people mid-argument with my parents. We get each other's contact info. Sunday night. My parents return without me to demand to be let on to their property and is refused. The police are called but say there is nothing they can do. Monday. Spent the day trying to contact our solicitor and researching the people who thought they've bought it. Tuesday. Finally get into our garage, have to endure a speech from the other party, but the car is safe and the garage is secured once again. Detailed version. We discovered the situation with the garage when someone interested in buying it said it didn't look like the description and then sent us a picture. It was rather late at night by this point, so we decided to go there tomorrow. My parents and I traveled separately as I was on my to work. I work nights. I arrived a couple minutes after my parents. There is a black car parked on the road in front of it, 3 people standing around and couple tons of construction debris on the concreted lawn. There was the mother, aka B, the son, aka A, and the son's partner. All of them were defensive, which is reasonable in that situation. When asked they said they keep tools in it. When we asked to open the garage they told us they couldn't open it as the only key was with Mr. W, the antagonist of this story, who was working till 8 p.m. on a Sunday. I gave my number to A, then I went to work and my parents went home. Relevant detail. My parents had me late and are both well over 65 plus while I am 20. Later that evening my parents returned to see if they could see the car as we weren't even told that the car was still there. Mr. W answered the door and my mother tried to present him with relevant paperwork, land registry, proof of sale etc. He refused the papers and got aggressive, balling up his fists. My parents left. Monday after I had got back from work we spent the day finding out what information we could about them. They bought the house and the 2 garages attached, ours' garage being the third. 6 weeks after we had submitted the land registry paperwork, they had converted a garage into a living room without planning, but that's not relevant. We considered reporting the car stolen but decided against it. We did call 111. They said that they can't send an officer in case something happens, only when something happens. Expected, but it did make my mother feel a bit better. On Tuesday my parents, myself and my uncle, he had helped move the car originally, arrive a bit before the agreed time. My parents parked in front of the garage, my uncle up the street and I parked a street over. My first interaction with Mr. W went as follow. It's all be paraphrased but the gist is about right. Generic greetings. Mr. W. We should introduce ourselves properly. I am Mr. W. Me. Good idea, I am Mr. Y. Mom. I am Mrs. Y. Dad. I am Dr. Y. Mr. W. Well, you're not a doctor though, you're a mister. A bit of back and forth here but we soon gave up. Uncle. I am Mr. C. Me. I think we've waited long enough unless there is any reason not to. Shall we open it? Mr. W. Well, there is some stuff I want to say, so if you'd all come inside we can talk as I don't want the neighbors hearing. Me. Well, due to COVID I think it's best we stay out here. We comprise and go to his back garden. We has done our research, we knew there was nothing new he could tell us. Mr. W gets himself worked up and starts going on about the land registry and how he spent £26 to get the papers. They're £3 so he probably got scammed. Away into the conversation. Mr. W. It cost us thousands to get it like that. I don't understand why you're being so rude about this. Directed at me as I'd done most the talking. Me. I think we've been very patient. We've come at a time that suits you on a day that suits you. Keeping in mind we could have come at any time, cut off your lock and put our own on, then sue for the cost to replant the hedge and lawn. Mr. W. People were complaining about the overgrown hedges, no one has cut them for at least 10 years. Mom. We cut them less than 2 years ago. While I agree the hedges were overgrown, gross exaggeration doesn't help. We try to keep them cut but we forget. Mr. W. People have said they like looking at it now, it looks so much better. Me. They like looking at rubble and rusting metal? Eventually he takes us to the garage. He had cleared the tools out and moved all the rubble and junk onto the footpath behind it, which explains why he wanted Monday to himself. We uncover the car and inspect everything, all the gardening tools we left that were gone. The car was fine but a few small dents on the bonnet at the front. Some tools probably fell onto it. We know he did it as it was inspected as showroom condition shortly before it went into storage. He denied the damage. While doing so he was leaning against our car. I told him get off, and he call us rude, he does. He goes inside his home, we stay in the garage. My uncle drove a concrete lorry his entire working life, so knows that at most there was a couple £100 worth of material there, not thousands. Aftermath. We get the car moved to our new house. I put up some no parking signs and we only hear from Mr. W 3 more times. Once to ask for copies of the paperwork he refused. He asked us for permission to park his work van on the concreted lawn. We said no as it was back on the market and people would have viewing it, and finally to tell him to move his van after he ignored us and parked there anyway. The garage door was fine, they had bent the locking mechanism breaking in, but we quickly fixed it. While the gardening tools being stolen is annoying, we don't care that much. We're not going to sue him for the cost of restoring it as the total property value is about the same. We gave him first refusal and didn't hear anything before the deadline. This bits will be boring if you don't like cars. The car is a 94 mint condition Suzuki with less than 5k miles on the clock, about 20,000 British pound we think from a quick Google. Obviously we wanted to get the car out as soon as possible. There is a garage that works on the brand nearby. We've used them before, they're excellent. They tell us the fuel pump has ceased. We could buy a new one from Japan for 522 British pound, but we found a second-hand one for 70 British pound locally, so we bought that and it's now sat on our driveway waiting for someone from Poland to arrange its collection. Question A. Why didn't you report it as stolen? We didn't want to have the headache of having to get it unreported stolen if we were able to recover it. Question B. How much would it have cost to restore the hedge and lawn? We're not sure, but lots. They were very tall old trees making up the hedge, and paying the labor needed to tear up the concrete would have been a massive cost as well. In total easily 10k British pound plus. Apologize for the very long post, but a lot has happened. My final note is that A and B were both incredibly pleasant and genuinely wanted to get it sorted. They were let down by Mr. W's attitude, who in my opinion knew they didn't have a claim to the garage but wanted to chance it. If they had genuinely no idea, then they should sue the solicitor they bought the house with for the market cost of the garage. In the end we lost nothing, but it was a lot of unneeded stress. The junk is still blocking the door path to this day. If I can figure out how to, I'll link some pictures. If there are any questions, let me know and I'll try my best to answer. The next story is titled, My car was towed by my apartment complex illegally. So I am seeking legal advice on this situation. Location. Piscataway, New Jersey. I woke up this morning to find my car was missing. I called 911, especially with the increase in thefts locally. I called out of work, which I am a healthcare worker, so now I've let others down, which doesn't sit well with me. When giving the description of my car to the police, it turns out the complex had my car towed in the middle of the night, but the complex has my license, registration, and insurance. My car was even listed as a car by them on the lease. It parks in front of the apartment, not in an unauthorized zone. So the complex has all the information they asked for from me and I wasn't illegally parked. I'm seeking advice on what to do. The office opens at 9:30 a.m., so I have to talk to them. Tow company hours aren't listed, so I'll call them back again at 8 a.m. And I know I will have to pay at least $250 or get my car because in the reviews of this complex, it has happened to others. Update. So the update is that I was able to get a hold of the towing company who told me it would cost $476.86 to get my car back. I spoke with the office and apparently they had a mass towing that comes from corporate in the middle of the night, and basically they look at cars, and if they don't see the tag for the complex in the window, they take it. However, when I went to pick up the car, my tag was where I left it, in the window. The office keeps saying well it must have not been visible enough, but it was visible from the outside and I have pictures of my car where you can see it. They apologized and said they must have missed it. Showed me the pictures the tow company took and you can see it. The next story is titled, "Is it legal to use home surveillance footage in legal proceedings if Target didn't know about it?" I am posting this on behalf of my colleague who does not have read it. She has been a long-term tenant in an older 2-bedroom townhouse in Canberra. She had a good relationship with the previous owner. The rent was paid privately and her rent had not gone up for several years. Recently the house has changed owners, and went from private to agent management, and the new landlords want to increase up her rent from $375 PW to $550 PW. My colleague couldn't afford the increase, so she sought some advice and wrote back that she would be disputing the increase because of Act's tenant protections for rent hikes above CPI. The new landlords obviously didn't want to fight it and agreed to a standard CPI increase. Last week the agent went through for an inspection, planned but unsupervised. On the very same day they wrote to her saying that she's been given notice for eviction for failing to maintain the property, citing lack of cleanliness, hygiene problems, weird smells, failure to maintain the lawn was always patchy, and excess weeds in the garden. My colleague has a nanny cam installed and when viewed it saw the agent was doing dodgy things like opening up her cupboards and drawers, going on his hand and knees, moving things on her table so it looks more messy, scooping dust from underneath the couch or back of closets and placing it on the floor, etc. My question is, what are her rights in this situation? She really doesn't want to move because of her kids' schools and trying to find another rental in this market is difficult. Is the nanny cam footage usable from a legal perspective? Update. Real estate agent caught on nanny cam deliberately making rental place look dirty to trigger eviction. Last week I submitted this post about a dodgy Ray who tried to evict my colleague because she resisted a marked jump in the rent. I printed off some of the advice provided to show her. I thought I would post an update for any interested. My friend emailed the re-agency this week with some of the more damning screenshots. Within 30 minutes she was contacted by the agency principal who drove out to speak to her that same night. The principal was profusely apologetic about the situation and promised that the agent involved would be investigated and likely dismissed. He would also contact the regulators for disciplinary action. The principal believed that the agent has some type of personal relationship with the new landlords which could explain this behavior. As compensation, the principal offered that his agency cover the difference between my colleague's current rent and any rental increase for the next year. My friend isn't super confrontational and didn't want to proceed with anything more formal, so she's happy to leave it at that. She will likely use the year of having her rent price locked in to find somewhere else live. Thanks for listening.